Hey everyone, Rivian reported fourth quarter 2023 earnings results and the stock price is down 18% in the after hours following these updates. Now, coming into the quarter, I did not have Rivian stock rated as a buy. I told investors not to buy this stock. In fact, for nearly all of 2023, I think I've told investors not to buy any of these EV stocks. Rivian, Lucid, Fisker, Neo, Tesla. I don't think I've recommended any of these stocks as a buy. And we're going to see with these quarterly results why that's been the case. The industry is not in a position that's attractive for investors. One of the things I try to stay away from as an investor is fierce competition and fierce price wars, which is precisely what's happening in the EV industry. And we're going to see a little bit more in this video, although not so much with the price competition. Rivian only recently announced that they will be cutting prices as well, and we'll see why that's going to be an extra disappointing news item here when we look at Rivian's outlook for 2024. So without further ado, let's take a look at these numbers, why the stock was down, and I will update my recommendation of Rivian stock. Remember, I did not have it rated as a buy. You're going to want to tune in to see if after this price drop, if I'm finally saying, okay, now the price is down enough where it makes sense to buy.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, Rivian starting off saying that they hold a deep conviction that the entire automotive industry will electrify over the long term. And I disagree with that. I disagree with that because we've seen so many problems with EVs, the higher price points, the inconvenience, the lack of charging infrastructure, and on and on. That makes me doubt that the entire industry will electrify over the long term. I agree that a greater percentage of vehicles will be electric over the long term, but I don't think that the entire automotive industry will electrify. I think hybrids are gaining traction as an attractive option, and so it remains to be seen if indeed the entire EV industry will take over all car market, all car sales. And I think it'll largely be dependent on governments and whether governments mandate and force people to get EVs and give people incentives, or if they don't. If there isn't incentives and mandates, I don't think this will be true, which will be bad news for Rivian and others. The one of the good items is that Rivian is going to unveil their R2 platform in early March, and that's promised to be a better platform, lower cost, lower price point, which can gain more traction with consumers. Right now, they're very expensive, and Rivian, in fact, they're the number one selling EV priced over $70,000. The problem is that they're priced over $70,000, which makes it difficult for affordability. 2023 was a good year for Rivian, all things being considered. I mentioned that they avoided the price wars and they doubled production and deliveries for the full year 2023 compared to 2022 and exceeded their guidance by 7,000 units. So, whatever they told investors, they did 7,000 units better than what they guided to. So, doubling production and doing better than they told investors, which is not going to be the case for 2024. It's not going to be the case. So their Q4 production represented their strongest quarter, and they reached an annualized run rate of 70,000 units despite taking a week of downtime. So they're capable. They can certainly produce more if their customer demand was there, but we're going to see in a little bit customer demand is not there. They aim to start production in 2026 on their R2 model. This is the exciting news to the world. In just a few weeks, they're going to they're going to give us some updates on that. The R2 is designed to achieve a considerably lower price point and cost structure while building on the brand and their flagship R1 models with the R1T and R1S. So this is the big thing. If they get this going and they get the lower price points, that can make it more attractive. They can reach a wider audience at lower price points. Another thing they achieved in 2023 was that the gross profit per delivered vehicle improved by $81,000 compared to the fourth quarter of 2022. So they made significant improvements, but they're still losing a lot of money on the bottom line, and they're still negative gross profit. We're going to see a little later management saying that they will achieve profitability in 2024 gross profit in the fourth quarter. So they expect to realize further cost reductions following their lines shutdown in Q2. So that's going to give them the momentum to get to gross profit positive by Q4. So here was the biggest disappointment from Rivian's quarterly update, and that is that they expect 2024 production to be flat year over year with a total of 57,000 units. So zero growth in production after they doubled in 2023. 2024, zero growth. And on top of that, they just announced big price cuts. They lowered the prices of a few of their models by several $1,000s. So not only 2024 are they going to be zero growth in terms of production, but they're going to be at lower price point, lower average selling prices. So revenue not looking strong for 2024, which might be okay for most companies, but when you're investing in Rivian, you're investing in the growth prospects. It's a growth stock, and it's valued like a growth stock because it's losing money on the bottom line. The company has lost billions of dollars, close to $10 billion, getting itself to this point. And for growth to be halted is really disappointing. Now, this is probably a pause to growth rather than an end to growth. This is probably a pause, and then maybe 2025, maybe 2026, they return to growth. Certainly hoping that when they launch their new R2 platform at lower prices, they can reach more customers, but that's no guarantee. So disappointing to be sure. And then on top of that, they've been saying that they're going to reach gross profit margin in the fourth quarter of 2024. Now, they're saying, they are going to achieve gross profit in the fourth quarter, but they're also saying it's going to be modest. Like, don't expect anything great. It's just going to be a modest gross profit for 2024. And when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking very low single digits, 2 or 3% gross profit margin. Less than 10 certainly for the Q4, but still it would be very good if the company does hit that target for Q4 gross profit. But investors were thinking that they were going to hit this Q4 gross profit at a much higher scale. I certainly was forecasting that for 2024 production was going to be somewhere around 65,000 to 75,000 units, given the scale they reached in the last quarter. To see only 57,000 unit forecast, I'm certainly disappointed in that, and it's less than what I was expecting from them. Although remember in 2023, they gave us a forecast and they beat it by 7,000. So maybe that'll be the case again in 2024, where they give us a forecast and then they beat it again by 10,000 or 5,000 or several thousand. So we'll see. Maybe this management has a habit of being conservative, which you'll know I'm not a fan of. I'm more interested in management teams being accurate rather than conservative or optimistic. I don't want a conservative team like Rivian here lowballing us, and I don't want an optimistic team like Tesla telling us they're going to do these great big things and then be 5 years behind schedule. So I don't want either of those extremes. I just want accurate information so that I can conduct financial analysis. I can't, continue to make updates based on whether you're conservative or optimistic. I prefer not to do that. So also in 2024, they're going to introduce some new variants and trims. The recently launched standard range R1 variant, which expands our brand to a broader range of potential customers. So even after all that, more variants, lower prices, even after that, they're forecasting flat production year over year. So the market must really be in disarray. We got some early signs how bad the market is from Ford, and they said that their Mustang Mach-E SUV sales decreased substantially in January, and they had to cut prices by thousands of dollars. And so it could be that demand has really fallen off considerably for SUV electric vehicles, and Rivian might be feeling the bite, and therefore, saying 2024 not going to be a good year. So to update my recommendation, I still do not like Rivian stock. I still do not recommend Rivian stock as a buy, even after the lower price. I don't like what's happening in the EV industry. Customer demand is nowhere near where any of these companies thought it was going to be when they invested these billions of dollars in increasing their manufacturing, increasing all that spending on research and development. The market is just not there. I think they got, I don't want to say fooled, but I think they got a little bit optimistic when they saw what was happening in the market in 2020 and 2021. But that was because of so much supply chain shortages and the unprecedented nature of the market in 2020 and 2021. I think they made optimistic forecasts based on what they saw in 2020 and 2021. And now that consumer behavior is normalizing, we're seeing that demand is not anywhere near where they thought it was going to be. So still no buy here for Rivian stock. Did you know that over 90% of the people that watch my channel are not subscribed? It'll really help support my channel if you hit that subscribe button. And oh, by the way, one of the benefits of being subscribed is that I take requests from subscribers more often than I do from non-subscribers. So if you prefer that benefit, please subscribe to the channel.